talk about this quote, but please keep this in the back of your mind as you listen to what I'm trying to say. Now, I came here from Pune. I was in Pune last week, and there was a survey in a newspaper, local newspaper, asking several teenagers and college-going students what was their image about India. So the survey asked those students and young children what was the image that they had in mind about India. And I don't think the answers will surprise you. The answers they came up with was it was a wonderful country, they were very proud of it, it was a rising India, shining India. Kind of stuff that doesn't surprise you at all. This was the India that these youngsters told the survey people what they had in mind. This was the India they saw. Okay, they saw an India of Infosys campus, they saw an India which had the ability to launch Chandrayaan, they saw an India with malls, they saw an India with rapidly catching up with the developed economies. And I was quite struck by the contrast, quite struck by the fact that this was so discordant and so much dissonant with what I felt India was. Because on one hand, you do have an India, all these images, they truly represent one aspect of India. You cannot deny that. There is an India of shopping malls, there is an India of Infosys, there is an India of Chandrayaan, there is an India of rising incomes, there is an India of per capita doubling every 7 years. You have all that. But there is also an India with a vast population that is deprived of very basic needs. Very basic needs. We are not talking of any kind of luxury here. We are talking of very elemental, fundamental necessities of life. There is also an India that is increasingly ungovernable. Okay, with large areas that are literally out of bounds, literally. So they are, in theory, within our borders, but no officer of the state, leave aside a common citizen, leave aside a common person, no officer of the state or no representative of the state dare venture in these regions. Increasingly. There is also an India that is dangerous, unsafe. And I find it very hard to reconcile this rising, shining India and India which these images portray somehow seems very superficial and very incidental. It almost feels like this is a bubble we have created for ourselves so that the misery doesn't haunt us. And there is a deeper, destitute India which is really the problems are structural and fundamental. That India has structural issues which are fundamental and deep, and these are not superficial. And it's neither incidental. This is real. And by the way, this did not happen by chance. So when I show these kind of images and talk to my friends about these things, they say, yeah, we do recognize India has problems. Yes, we all know about India's problems. There are a lot of malnourished people, there are a lot of poor people. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't receive medical aid. There are a lot of babies who die of inadequate medical care, etc., etc. We are aware of these problems and we therefore do a lot of charity. I'm involved in this NGO, my wife is doing this, and I run a school and I go to the slum for a free medical camp. I do a lot of social work. I'm a very socially conscious citizen. I really care for my country and I do a lot of social work. So that's one group. The other group says, yes, I'm aware of all these problems and that's why I contribute a lot to charity. Okay, I contribute a lot because I believe these people are doing some great work. So that's the group which I call checkbook charity. But neither checkbook charity nor social work, either of those two can fix India. They are not the answer. They are not the answer to India's fundamental problem. Checkbook charity does not address India's fundamental problem, which is actually poor governance. No amount of charity, no amount of social work is going to fix this problem. And the reason it's not going to fix this problem is because it does not recognize the root of this problem, the roots of this problem. The roots of this problem are not that there is not enough money floating around. Because if that was the case, if all of us would have just done enough charity, the problem would have gone. And so, I make a very bold statement, but something I deeply believe in. It's a very bold statement, but I'm willing to be challenged on this statement that charity cannot fix India. Charity can never fix India. Charity will make you feel good, it will help you sleep well, but it cannot fix India. Don't be under any illusion. It's a good thing. We all do charity because we want to sleep well. But please let us not pretend that India can be fixed by charity. And the reason it can't be fixed by charity is because it does not address charity. No amount of charity, no amount of checks attack the root cause. No amount of money attacks the root cause, and unless we think about the root cause, all this talk, all this social work will lead us nowhere. So how do you go about fixing India? How do you go about fixing this? If it is broken, how do you fix it? And as you all know, having studied engineering far more diligently and sincerely than me, to fix a problem, you need to identify the root of the problem. What is the root? Or why is this malfunction happening? What is the root cause? And actually, not just root cause, but there are probably root causes. Because there's not just one. There are probably a few, at least a few. And so unless we talk about those root causes, unless we become bold enough and frank enough and open enough to discuss these root causes, no amount of charity, no amount of social work will fix it. And the first root cause of poor governance